ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in. It is Hoist the Colors on a Thursday, February 5th edition of the program. Exciting show ahead. For the next hour, we're going to dive into a little bit of everything. We're going to continue on our ECU baseball roster rundown. We've been doing that, Philip Pilkington and I, who is again producing today's program. We've done, I believe, 1 through number 21 up through Austin Irby on the roster. We're going to continue that now later in the program in numerical form. Scheduled to be profiled today, Walker Barron, Braxton Trammell, Braden Burris, Nick Moran. We'll get into all those gentlemen throughout the show. Also going to talk some NBA trade deadline. Check in on RJ Felton, ECU alum, how he's doing in the G League as well. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Got a question, comment, concern, drop it in the chat. We'll get to that over the course of the next hour. We're going to lead today's show with one of the top college baseball insiders in the business. He is Aaron Fitt from D1 Baseball. Aaron, welcome to the program. And I know you're ready for college baseball, but does it feel like college baseball is on the horizon with this weather right now? It's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of keeping me from being totally into it, Aaron. How about you?
Yeah, I don't know about you guys. We still got snow on the ground here in Durham. It's melting slowly. But I'll tell you what makes me feel like it's college baseball season is you crazy people breaking down every guy on the roster. I mean, is there anything better than East Carolina baseball and the passion? Oh, my gosh, that's awesome. I love that.
Hey, we got to kill an hour every day in February, early February, Aaron. So, we got to do what we got to do to get these segments in. But, the fans love it, man. There's nothing like it. And, obviously, I've covered plenty of games in the press box besides you over the years. And, I remember the passion, obviously, in the Greenville Regional, but the Conway Regional last year with ECU and Coastal fans going at it. Like, to me, that's what makes college sports special. But definitely college baseball, you still get that raw, passionate feel from the players, the fans, and I know that's got to be a big reason why you love doing what you do, right?
Yeah, no question about it. And our postseason is special too. You get those on-campus venues, and it's one of the things that I actually still really like about the way that they do it, where it is still kind of regionalized. So if you got an East Carolina that winds up on the road in a regional down in Conway, they can travel in force pretty easily. And gosh, that was a special atmosphere, with those two fan bases and two really teams playing at a high level. At that point in the season, that was a lot of fun, and I'll tell you, it seemed to me like in the regional it seemed like a vintage East Carolina team. It didn't seem like a team that finished tied for fifth in the league. Those guys were dangerous, and I think that's going to carry over to this year.
No doubt. Aaron Fitt with us from D1 Baseball, and you guys do such a phenomenal job. I just want to continue to plug it. D1 Baseball, go there, subscribe. You guys in the fall, go out, you see all these teams, and with all the roster turnover now, the transfer portal, you have to do that to kind of get a feel for what these teams bring to the table. But when you saw East Carolina in the fall, maybe you didn't see them on their best days in some of these scrimmages, Aaron, but what did you see from the Pirates?
Yeah, it's funny. I saw them out in Boone against App State. And no, it was not a good day for the Pirates. I think they almost got no hit in the first scrimmage against App State. I couldn't have seen them on a worse day, but I still walked away thinking, hey, there's a lot to like about this team. I mean, especially, I like a lot of things about this team. I think it's going to be a vintage ECU team, but on the mound, that it's obviously the pitching talent that they've got coming back. And even on a day where the offense was a little lifeless, it was cold. I'm gonna make excuses. It was cold. It was November, but they're really good. I just think it's going to be a very dangerous, balanced, athletic offensive group.
Aaron, let's start on the mound where the number one is kind of obvious. Ethan Norby, a lot of guys in contention after that. But what do you anticipate from Ethan Norby this season? And I'm curious, Philip, our producer, and I have been talking, like, his draft profile is so unique because he's a smaller left-hander. Obviously, the stuff is there. How do you think scouts will evaluate him this year as well, being the draft-eligible player in 2026?
Yeah, we just had this conversation on we had a prospects podcast we recorded yesterday, and I was lobbying to run this guy up because I just think he checks a lot of boxes. The only box he doesn't check is height. But I mean, he's strong. He's a unit. He's very compact, and it's plenty of arm strength. I mean, it'll be up to 95 with that kind of riding life up in the zone, and spins the heck out of it. That sweeper, he's got the cutter. That's become a good weapon for him. He throws strikes, just fills up the zone. For me, he's one of the very best pitchers in the country. First team preseason All-American for a reason. But I also think he's going to be drafted pretty good. I mean, despite being short, that's really the only knock on the guy. Marcus Stroman has shown you that there's outliers out there. There's guys who are built like he is, and I think that's a similarity with Stroman physically is they're short, but they're also they're tanks, man. They're really strong, and I think there's a place for that in the pro game. So I bet you he's a top 3 round pick.
Aaron, I asked Norby at Media Day for ECU, is the next step for him kind of developing that changeup? Because he's brutal on left-handed hitters. I mean, they basically can't touch him when he's in the zone. So he said that he feels like his changeup has taken a big leap this fall, this offseason. So if he can add that to his arsenal to combat right-handed pitch or right-handed hitters, how do you think that will even further develop his game?
Yeah, that's the next piece that would make him even more of a complete pitcher. And even last year, I saw flashes of a pretty good changeup in there. It's in there. He has feel for it. It's just a matter of throwing it more and developing it. But you got that pitch. Plus, I think he can run that cutter in on the hands of righties, which I think is an effective weapon. And so, yeah, he eats up lefties. But I think he's also now got a couple of different weapons that he can attack righties with and keep them honest.
Visit with Aaron Fitt from D1 Baseball. All right, the rest of this rotation, I mean, we were at Media Day and talking to people out at scrimmages. There's like 6-7 names in contention. Obviously, Sean Jenkins last year, showed flashes as a freshman. Colby Weber, I'm hearing tremendous things about him as a true freshman. We'll see how he develops. They added some transfers. They're getting also Ryan Towers back from injury, who was in the mix last year. Brad Antolik's another guy back from injury. So any idea, Aaron, from your conversations, how this thing may shake out as the season approaches?
It is quite a plethora of options. I mean, Towers and Antolik were supposed to be the 2 guys last year that were going to be in the rotation, and having them back, a couple of very nice little X factors there. But they're gonna have to earn it because you mentioned Weber, just sounds like a guy with sky high potential, and I saw that it's a lanky, projectable frame and really loose arm. I mean, I think I saw him up 97 or so in the fall. Field of spin, he's got, I think, 4 pretty good pitching. He got a split as well. I mean, he checks a lot of boxes. I think he's going to be the next great ECU arm. I still believe Jenkins can be as well, whether he starts or relieves. I mean, they were kind of suggesting maybe he could be a high leverage bullpen stopper for him this year. I don't know. I mean, he made 12 starts as a freshman, pitched a lot of innings. He's certainly built like a workhorse starter. I mean, that's a guy with incredibly high upside. And then Frank Ciccone from St. Joe's, was their Friday starter last year, pounded the zone, and it's 90-94. It's a good slider. He's got some track record. He's got that experience, the presence. And so a lot of options there for them to start. And figuring that out is, your guess is as good as mine. Right now, I think it's Norby. I mean, if I'm betting, I'm saying maybe it's Ciccone and Weber behind him. But what do they do with Jenkins? That's a really big question for me.
No doubt. Aaron Fitt from D1 Baseball with us. Also, the position player side, Aaron, and just the postseason that Austin Irby had, I was writing about this morning. Also, Braden Burris. I mean, those guys as freshmen last year, they took their lumps. By the end of the year, they looked like guys who had been in the program for 2-3 years. And I don't know how much you believe in the sophomore slump. Maybe that's a factor, but these guys feel like they can kind of be the cornerstone of the next great ECU teams. How do you feel about those two?
Absolutely, 100%. Two guys that are just dudes. I tend to like betting on teams that are sophomore heavy. I think a lot of times in college baseball, you see more of a junior slump just because of the draftitis factor. I love teams that are built around sophomores. And yeah, sometimes you'll see a sophomore slump. Guys will struggle to maintain, but I don't think you'll see that with these 2 guys because they just really can hit. They control the zone really well, which is something we always look for. If a freshman goes out and hits a bunch of home runs but has a lopsided strikeout walk rate, and that's maybe more of a red flag. But these guys both are really mature in the box, and I mean, 389 for Pete's sake, and steals base, just an electric player, one of my favorite players in the country. And Irby, I think, is going to hit 12 home runs as a freshman, but there's more in there. It's hit and power, and that's a neat combination. And I think those guys are absolutely stars.
I was listening to another one of you guys' podcasts recently, the teams that just missed the preseason top 25. And by the way, Aaron, obviously there were other top 25s in college baseball that ranked ECU, but we on this show, I still say we only recognize one college baseball top 25, and that's the D1 baseball poll. So by our count, ECU is not preseason ranked. I know they were close, and you kind of made the argument for them. So how close were they, and what do you think they have to do maybe early in the season to get into that top 25?
I think they were unofficially probably Team 27. They wound up West Virginia and ECU were the two that were just outside. And we had various staffers advocating for both. I was really pushing for East Carolina, but there's more, I guess, for them to prove just based on the season they had last year. I just love the pieces coming back, and I'm on record. I think this is going to be a classic ECU team that dominates the league and hosts the regional and makes that another run at Omaha. One of these years they're going to break through, and this could very well be it. So, I just think get off to a good start. They'll be in the rankings fast, and I think they're going to stay in the rankings all year.
Yeah, this non-conference schedule, Aaron, is pretty tough. They open with Xavier. For people who don't follow college baseball, I don't know if anybody's schedule's tougher than Xavier, so their RPI will always be high. North Carolina, obviously the traveling series. They go to Coastal. They face Rutgers and Troy in the non-conference in the Leclerc Classic, and then all the midweek games. So we've kind of debated on this show the North Carolina and Coastal series, they're both going to be tough. I mean, if you want to be a regional host, is it important to hold your own in those series that early in the season, or is that something that we just don't know what the committee's going to do that this far ahead?
I think realistically, yes. I think those are hugely important series at the end of the year when they're building their resume, because I mean, let's face it, they're probably not going to get a lot of other opportunities in conference to have those kind of signature series wins. I mean, UTSA I do think will be good again, but they lost quite a bit. They won't be as good as last year certainly, and so. But other than that, I don't know if there's going to be another team that's really in the regional hunt. And so I think they have to make hay when they can. And that means that non-conference, and, Troy's another good team that should be a regional caliber team. But those series in particular against North Carolina and Coastal, those are huge, and especially if you're trying to position yourself for a top 8, which has often been the case for East Carolina. It's the years where they've done well in those opportunities against the teams like UNC, that can kind of push them over the edge. Or, if they go 1-6 or 1-5 in those 2 weekends, that'll be held against them by the committee. There's no question.
Any idea, Aaron, what your schedule's looking like for opening weekend, and will you try to make it to one of these, early season ECU series, whether it be North Carolina Coastal or otherwise?
Yeah, I'm going to open up down in Hattiesburg. Southern Miss is hosting UC Santa Barbara, kind of a fun intersectional series, and then probably catch a little bit of Missouri State at Louisiana. Kind of an unusual opening weekend for me, but I am planning, I think right now, to catch the traveling series with North Carolina and ECU. I think that's going to be a fun one this year. Both teams that I think have Omaha potential.
What's it like, Aaron? I'm just curious. I mean, covering Cliff Godwin as a national reporter, like we are local reporters, and we still get the brunt of Cliff Godwin if he's not having a good day at times. Obviously, we've got a love relationship with him as well. But I don't know. Is it? He's such a passionate guy, and I always say he's the most competitive coach in any sport I've covered. Like, just what's it like coming in and covering him and kind of telling his story when you get the opportunities?
You're right. Passion is the number one thing, and it comes across, every time. It's intensity also, even in, fall conversations. He's just got a natural intensity about him. And that's one of the reasons why the team has been so successful over the years. Is they feed off of his energy and his demanding standards. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that I actually really respect about Cliff is he'll tell us when he's unhappy with us, and that's happened over the years, and that's fine, man. Like I prefer that. If we write something or say something that pisses you off, like, let us know and let's have a conversation about like grown ups. And he's good about that, and that's something that I appreciate as a reporter.
Looking at the preseason top 25, Aaron, and obviously Coastal on that list at number 6. just last year, such a magical run by them. They do lose some, but Fluky coming back, just how repeatable is last year's run? And do you put any stock into just when teams go that deep into the postseason, throw that many innings, is there ever at all a fear for like a drop off or kind of lingering effects of that for college pitchers?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you see over the years. I mean, obviously, pitchers get hurt. That's just a law of nature. And it seems like the more you throw and the harder you throw, the greater your chances of getting hurt. But, I mean, there's also guys that are able to withstand it. And, Fluky, for instance, threw a lot of innings last year, but it's the way he's built. I mean, it's a fast arm. It's a loose, athletic operation that he's got. I think he'll be fine. We've got him as probably right there with Norby, as probably the two best pitchers in the country, maybe even Canuck in that mix from Clemson. But I love their bullpen again. I mean, I thought they had the best bullpen in the country last year. Most of those guys are back. You got two preseason All-Americans for us in their bullpen, in addition to Fluky in the rotation. But, that's pretty good with Ryan Lynch and Dominic Carbone back. And they're going to move Hayden Johnson into the rotation. He was a key lefty out of the bullpen last year. He was awesome for me in the fall when I saw those guys. I mean, it's kind of just how you draw it up. He's like a 6'5" lefty, high slot, just really gets on you in the mid-90s with a plus slider. And I think he's going to have a big year, kind of helping to fill some of those innings that they lost in the rotation last year. And their position player group is strong again. It's just you lose Caden Bodine. That hurts. That's the best catcher in the country, maybe defensively, certainly. But maybe not as much star power in the lineup, but it's just a bunch of guys that are proven winners that fit well together, and they're athletic, and they're going to play great defense. And I think they've got a little more pop this year than they did last year. And last year they were still good enough to get to the finals and almost win it all. So, we've got them, I think, number 6 in the preseason, something like that. Expecting a big year down there in Coastal again.
And two other teams that ECU will see, North Carolina, we talked about NC State in the midweek later in the year, ranked 11th and 17th respectively. And I just remember the young arms Carolina had on the mound last year. I'm like, these guys are going to be a problem for a while. So are they still pitching led? I know they had some turnover in the lineup. How do you see that playing out? And then also maybe a couple words on NC State.
Yeah, I think both those teams are kind of similar in that their strength is on the mound. I'm higher on NC State probably than our staff as a whole. I love their rotation as well. And they're top 3 arms in the weekend, but maybe a few more question marks in the bullpen, but you still have Anderson Nance back there to anchor it, who's a real guy. I think North Carolina has maybe the best pitching staff in the country from top to bottom. And so you may say, well, why are they ranked 11th? Well, they lost almost everybody in the lineup. I mean, except for Gavin Gallagher. There's a whole lot of new faces. I like a lot of their new faces. Owen Hall and Jake Schaffner coming in. Some of these guys that I think have a chance to be impact players. But it's a step up in competition, a significant step up for those guys. And so we need to see that. But gosh, I mean, on the mound with Folger Boaz is your Sunday guy. I mean, he started his career as a freshman as their Friday starter, as a power lefty. But I mean, you've got Jason DeCaro and now their version of Ryan Lynch. Two potential first-round picks, I think, in their rotation, and then Boaz. So, and a great bullpen, of course. Walker McDuffie's back. You got Matthew Mateus back from injury. Multiple, All-American type guys there on the mound for them. That's really the strength.
Final thing for you, Aaron Fitt from D1 Baseball. We talked about the weather earlier. I know there's been some discussion in the past and maybe coming up again this year given the snow on the ground. Like, is there any momentum behind maybe pushing the season back a few weeks? Is that something that you realistically could see in the coming years, or is it just more talk at this point?
There has been renewed buzz about that in the last week or so, and it's obviously I think that's just a result of the current weather realities across the country. But it seems like it's got a little bit more momentum this time around than it has in the past. And I know it's something that I think it was maybe 2019 or 20 when Eric Bakich was at Michigan. He really tried to rally support for this idea of pushing the season back some, and it just kind of fell on deaf ears. But he still, and a lot of the Southern coaches still believe that it should be pushed back. And we're starting to hear a lot more talk about maybe trying to push it back into, early March to start the season. And, then of course you're playing the College World Series in July, which will that ever happen? I mean, I think there would be some resistance probably from, ESPN, who has a lot of say in the matter, and certainly from administrators who, work all year, want to go on vacation. I get it. I want to go on vacation too in the summer, but I think it'd be better for the sport probably to start in March and end in July. And so I think there's starting to be some realistic buzz about that. We'll see if it happens. I'm still probably skeptical. I would bet against it, but it does feel like it suddenly feels like a more viable possibility than it has in past years.
Aaron, one final quick thing that Kenny wanted to ask on YouTube. How much did you enjoy watching Tracy Savage do what he did last year in the majors?
It was special, man. I mean, like you guys watched that guy for 3 years, knew he was a stud since he was a freshman. I mean, he's just you can't miss guy. But seeing him do it that quickly in the major leagues, my gosh, I mean, it's rare. I mean, that's the stuff that the great ones do, getting there that fast and pitching at that level. For a World Series team, he was their best guy, man. I mean, it's unbelievable how quickly that happened. And so he's got the makeup, he's got the body, he's got the repertoire. Obviously, the splitter is special. He checks every box, but just really, really cool to see it happen so quickly.
He is Aaron Fitt from D1Baseball.com. Again, check out their work. Subscribe. They do tremendous work all season long and in the off season as well. Aaron, we appreciate the time, man. And as always, we'll see you at some point this year up in the press box. Thank you so much.
All right, Steven, my pleasure.
Absolutely. That's Aaron Fitt from D1 Baseball. We'll get a break in. We'll come back. We will continue on our ECU baseball roster rundown, profiling some of the names on the diamond this year for the Pirates. That next on Hoist the Colors.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arg!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Allen, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Climb aboard as we set sail and hoist the colors.
Arr, matey!
Back to the show with Steve and I go on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back in segment 2, Hoist the Colors here on a Thursday. Great to talk with Aaron Fitt, National Baseball reporter from D1 Baseball. Good to get his perspective, and we'll probably see him in the press box in that North Carolina series at some point. That'll be Friday in Greenville, second weekend of the season, scheduled to be, and then Durham and then Chapel Hill for that contest. All right, Philip Pilkenbree joins us, producing today's program, and we're going to continue our ECU baseball roster rundown. We'll stay on the baseball train. We'll look at the NBA trade deadline for our NBA fans and also the women's basketball victory in our next segment. RJ Felton check in as well, see how he's doing in the G League. But now we'll continue to talk baseball. We are 8 days away. Still doesn't feel real, probably because there's snow on the ground. But let's continue on. Philip, number 24 is Walker Barron, catcher. And I don't want to say an epiphany during the break, but I started to come up with an argument of how do we see Walker Barron take the next step offensively, and like that would be nice, I guess. But for me, I think if he puts up the same defense he did last year at a slightly more consistent level, like you take that and if I can get another healthy defensive first year out of Walker Barron, I'm fine with that. He hit 250 last year, 39 strikeouts against 16 walks, not great. On-base percentage of 335, not great. Not a ton of power, but I'm fine with the defense, man. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, you want to see a guy, evolve each year defensively. But, I thought he did a really good job stealing some strikes. A lot of our pitchers talked about that last year. And when you look at Walker, you ask, how can you get more of an offensive output? Well, I think you could keep him from getting the hell beat out of him every single game, catching 18 innings of a doubleheader like he did last year, and catching all but 10 or 12 innings or whatever he caught for the entire season. How you get more offensive output from Walker Barron is get one of these other guys ready to go out there and actually catch some innings so his body isn't killing him by mid-April. I think that's the problem. Barron, could the approach been better and he limited the strikeouts? Yeah, sure. But sometimes when he goes up there, it looks like he's dead and he's got terrible form swinging because he's caught 27 innings in the last 46 hours. So, let's give him a little bit of a break and maybe he'll hit a little better.
I don't think it's a coincidence that he was hitting 284 in mid-April and then basically just dropped off. Now, I don't think he's ever going to be a big power guy, but I think a lot of it is he just got worn down. And he was pretty consistent with the bat early in the season. I would like to see maybe a touch better plate approach at times, as you mentioned, but I really think it was just a combination of playing so much. And I think people that don't play baseball or haven't played it growing up, it's such a task to be a full-time catcher. You got to be built differently. A, to be a catcher, period. B, to be a catcher who starts 60 of 62 games and do the things that Walker did. I mean, like you said, think about trying to catch some of these pitchers who are spiking balls in the dirt. Every time you're getting nicked, banged up, you're getting foul tips hit off of you. I mean, and you're back there squatting the entire game. And look, there's a reason it's hard to find catchers who are good at hitting and catching. It's just not easy to do. And that's why it would be ideal if Michael Kalendis can step up a little bit this year. But I still think if I can get another good defensive year out of Walker, I'll take it. But the other thing, too, Philip, he's not the biggest guy. He's 5'10", 190. So he's not really built to withstand a pounding back there, so to speak.
No, he's not. And, like you said, I agree with you. I would still like to see him maybe have a slight uptick defensively, but you wonder, too, did that come from also getting the hell beat out of him? When you look at a good Major League Baseball team, your backup catcher catches 40 games a year. That's 25% of your games. And I think, in D1 baseball, is that asking, do you need maybe that number? Do you need 14 games? Maybe that's a little high. But, if you could get 10 games, 12 games out of your number two catcher, you feel good about that. It's something that we've been able to do in the past. Go back 2 years, and, Ryan McChrystal was able to catch a fair amount to give J-Dub some breaks. And then even Walker Barron, I think, caught 13 or 14 innings as a freshman. I can't remember the exact number, but it was somewhere in there. A lot of those were late in games, but it was just that little bit of giving J-Dub against some of those pitchers. Like you said, you were up big, and you were throwing up guys who were spiking balls everywhere. And then Walker was able to take a little bit of that beating and save J-Dub a little bit.
Number 25 on our roster rundown is Braxton Trammell. Last year missed the second half of the season with an injury. He hit .345 with 2 doubles, 4 homers, 15 RBIs. and I think homered once every 12, 13 at-bats in 18 starts, 24 games. Unfortunately, Braxton, I was going to anticipate having a huge role this year, corner outfield, DH type, infielder, but suffered a preseason injury. Per my sources, will miss a significant amount of time, maybe the entire season. So tough blow there. I do think with the process of this roster in terms of the amount of power bats they have at the corners, they'll be okay. But still, you don't want to lose anybody to a significant injury. We don't know the exact timeline yet, Philip, but this is definitely news you don't want to hear going into the year for Braxton.
Yeah, I remember kind of holding my breath there on that Saturday game at Charlotte when he went down last year. And look, this is a guy, like you said, he could compete to be a starter at, let's just say 4 positions, because I think shortstop, third, left field, right field. Yeah, maybe some of those places like shortstop, you wouldn't expect him to be the guy, but if you had to settle for him being the guy because some other guys didn't work out, you wouldn't be, fretting. But definitely third, as well as those corner outfield positions. And even if he didn't win a starting job at either one of those spots, the ability to give Colby Wallace a little time off, or, oh, hey, Colby's got to go to the mound because he's a two-way player. So who's going to be your next third baseman? I thought the answer to that question was Braxton Trammell. Like you said, he had some pop. We don't know how much he was going to have coming off that injury. If I remember correctly, was it an upper body injury that he sustained? I want to say maybe a separated shoulder. He dove after a ball in the gap. He was playing short, in that game at Charlotte. So, that could have affected his power a little bit. We don't really know how the rehab was going, but this is a guy that really was going to have a vital role, I think, in this team, and definitely a blow for East Carolina.
Number 26 is Braden Burris. We had him on the show multiple times last year through the 23 club. Great young man. I'm sure he had other opportunities to go elsewhere, but don't think it ever really entered his mind. And just, look, he hit 389 last year, 11 doubles, 4 homers, 33 RBI. 31 walks and 11 hit by pitches compared to 26 strikeouts. So 488 on base percentage, which are elite on base numbers. I don't even think it's fair, Philip, to, like, for me, I don't know how replicable these numbers are just because, like, it's baseball. I mean, I guess he could go out and hit 390 again, but, like, I don't think you can expect that. I think maybe you just expect him to get on base a lot, probably hit somewhere over 300, maybe still a few more bases, still 18 last year, and maybe a touch more pop. But, like, if he does anything close to what he did last year, I'm happy. I think the biggest step for him is being more of a leader, which it sounds like he is. And what position is he going to play? Is he going to play second base full time? Is he going to play more outfield? That's kind of what and he's played some shortstop in the preseason too, so I'm curious where Braden ends up defensively. We know he's going to play and probably hit leadoff.
Yeah, I think where he ends up really depends on his teammates. If someone emerges at, say, center field, he'll play second. If someone emerges at second, he'll play center field. We know Braden Burris is in the starting lineup, and I think the other players will prove whether or not they're ready to be starters. And as to whom decides to take that next step, prove they can be a starter, will force Cliff Godwin to slot Braden Burris at whatever position he has to play, and he'll be comfortable with that position. And like you said, do we expect him to hit whatever those numbers were last year, 399 or 390 with a 440 on base percentage? No, but he doesn't have to be that guy. 488, yeah. For some reason, I thought it was 448, but 488. See, yeah, you don't expect that, but there's that weird talk of that rule in Major League Baseball. Could you allow a guy who's already in the lineup to pinch hit once a game in a spot? I don't like that rule. But if we implemented that for base running in college baseball, just for the sake of Braden Burris, I'd be okay with it. Let's get him to randomly pinch run one time in a crucial moment.
No doubt. And he wants to try to play every position he can, including catcher, before he leaves ECU. We'll see how many boxes he can check this season for the Pirates. Our final roster rundown for today is number 27, Nick Moran. I really think Moran is a wild card for this pitching staff. Last year, 17 games out of the bullpen, 4 starts as well, went 1-1 with a 4.99 ERA, 24 strikeouts. There were times he looked awesome. There were times he didn't have it. So he has legitimate starting experience from his time at Liberty. Started 14 games with good numbers as a junior in 24. I'm just, do you use him as a midweek guy? Do you use him as a matchup guy out of the bullpen? to me, having a guy like this as like your 6th, 7th starting option is just a tremendous luxury. And I think he's going to factor in pretty significantly somewhere. He's had a good offseason. Every time I saw him in the fall, he was pretty much nailed. So I'm just curious how he's utilized as the early season kind of drags on, Phillip.
I think if he can pitch to his potential, you would really love him as a high-leverage matchup guy. You got 2 left-handed bats coming in the lineup. He's a left-handed pitcher. Hey, go get me these 2 outs. There's a guy on second, 1 out. I need you to get these guys. That's his ceiling. But if it is a situation where he is inconsistent like he was a year ago, I think he becomes an inning eater, and he's your first guy out of the pen on Tuesdays in a game you feel comfortable winning, and you say, hey, man, can you get me 2, maybe 3, and you got a quick hook if it's not his day. So, I think there's a spot for him in this rotation. As to how vital that spot is, like Cliff says, it's up to him. Is he going to be consistent? Is he not? But like you said, you're not in a bad spot with this dude being your 6th, 7th, 8th option as a starter.
Nick Moran, senior left-hander, there's his profile. There's our ECU baseball roster rundown for today. A lot of ECU baseball talk on the other side. Huge win for women's basketball. Really trailed the vast majority of the game, definitely the second half before storming back. We'll tell you what that means. We'll also get into some NBA, the second half of our show as well. Trade deadlines today. Some news on Giannis. We'll see where he ends up, or maybe he's staying home. We'll have that for you. Then RJ Felton check-in the G League with the Pacers organization. We'll tell you what he's up to. So that all that is on the way. Second half of HTC. We will be right back.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown. At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
Make every day electric on the Kawasaki Electro 20 electric balance bike. Maximize the fun with long run times, impressive top speed, and Kawasaki build quality. Easy adjustability and smooth handling make everyday riding more enjoyable. And the standard MTB type tires provide off-pavement capability. The Kawasaki Electro 20 is the electric balance bike that's built to rip. Go to Ron Ayers Motorsports, Memorial Drive north of the airport, Greenville.
Hoist the Colors, Thursday, February 5th. We talk with Aaron Fitt. We talk ECU baseball as well. Philip Hilkinen producing today's show. Huge win yesterday afternoon inside Minges Coliseum for Kim McNeil's squad. The women improved to, I believe, 17-7 overall. Yep, and 9-2 in the conference. Didn't look good for the majority of the second half. They've hosted USF and South Florida top 100 net team, one of the top women's programs. They did lose their coach, I believe, to the WNBA, but this past offseason, but still a very good team, very good players. They kind of controlled the pace for much of the game, and then ECU ramped it up late. They ended up winning 64-62. They went on a 10-0 run in clutch time, also hit 4 3-pointers in the fourth quarter. Some big-time clutch shot making from Kennedy Fauntleroy, who started the game, I think missing her first 8-9 shots. Jayla Earp also had some big shots. Anzane Hutton with some huge plays in the paint. And Taylor Barner hit one big three. She only scored 3 points, but she had a clutch three to kind of get ECU going as well. So a gritty win. Something else that stood out to me, Philip, was 9 turnovers for the women. They did a great job of taking care of the basketball. USF turned the ball over 22 times. ECU also had 19 offensive rebounds, leading to 22 second chance points. It's really kind of fascinating looking at the box score. USF out-rebounded ECU 41-39, but allowed ECU to get 19 offensive rebounds. So the Lady Pirates got 77 shots up compared to USF's 51, 26 more shots. That is a crazy stat, and that's why they ended up winning the game.
It was, and so it's interesting. When you go back to the Wichita State loss last week, they were sleepwalking. This game early, it didn't feel like they were sleepwalking. They really looked efficient until they tried to shoot the basketball. It looked like they had never played before. It was weird. I don't know if they found, they didn't find out until close to 7 o'clock the night before the game had been moved up. I think that had a little bit to do with it. But it felt the whole game that it was like, man, one shot can turn this thing around. They don't look sloppy. They don't look like they're uninvested. They don't look like they're not playing with heart. They were getting all the hustle plays. They were taking care of the basketball. It just felt like the second the shot came up, I hate to say it, but it looked like kind of Kim's first 2 years, where it was like, oh, and we missed another layup. Oh, and there was a wide open mid-range jumper that we had no chance of going in, that was clanked off the back iron. And it was like one shot can be the difference. And I thought late in the game, what actually ended up being the difference was the conditioning of the two teams. All 5 Pirates starters, 30-plus minutes on the floor, and the first minute and the 40th minute didn't seem much different. The body language of South Florida changed. The look in the eyes of the Bulls players changed. And I think Kim McNeil won that game this summer with the way she conditioned her roster, because at the end of the day, they didn't look sluggish down the stretch, and South Florida did.
And look, both teams went 11 of 14 from the line, but ECU, going back to the conditioning, they made some clutch free throws down the stretch as well to put the game away. And I was going to bring up, kind of going off that as well, the physicality in the fourth quarter. Like, ECU's women were knocking South Florida to the ground. Like, and kudos to the referees for not calling some cheap fouls, because a lot of it was not like intentional violent contact, but it was like, we're just going to be the more physical team and we're going to fight more for these balls. And like, at the end of the day, ECU, I mean, both teams won it, but ECU just willed itself to victory. And I just thought it was I'm not going to say championship caliber win, but it was like a championship type win in terms of you're trying to separate yourself from one of the best teams in the league, but get a further grasp on that number 2 seed, which, as you've mentioned, Philip, you get a top 2 seed, you have an automatic bye to the semifinals. So, like, this was a vital game. Now separates ECU from South Florida. Now Tulsa still in the 2nd seed mix. I'll get into the standings here in a minute. But this was a crucial game, and just shows, too, like, they didn't play anywhere near their ceiling and still took out one of the best teams in the league. And I do agree with you. Very different. It felt maybe kind of similar to the Wichita State game in terms of the inability of shot making, but like, the play was there, the intensity was there, and then they finally executed when it mattered, and huge win in Minges Coliseums. Now, look at the standings here. ECU 9-2. Rice still, they're 9-0 in the league. They've won 14 in a row, 19-3 overall. They are in at-large territory. Just to give some people some mention, or to give people an idea of kind of the standings right now, or the net ranking. So ECU is not going to be an at-large team. They're 117 in the net, despite their 17-7 overall record. Rice is 64th in the net, probably still on the outside looking in as far as an at-large as of today, but they could potentially get one essentially by running the table or only losing one in the regular season. South Florida is 85 in the net after losing to ECU. North Texas is up there at 115, ECU at 117. But ECU, they have to win the conference tournament to make the big dance. They can make the NIT, obviously, but the goal is to make the NCAA tournament, and that is by getting a top 2 seed, regardless of what happens with Rice in the coming weeks, Philip.
Yeah, the crucial game is going to be March 7th. That's the final regular season game. That game's being played at Tulsa. So you mentioned the seeding right now, or the standings right now. East Carolina and Tulsa went in yesterday, tied for second place at 8-2. East Carolina was ahead due to that home win 3 or 4 weeks ago, something like that, against the Golden Hurricane, in a game that I thought honestly was the best game they have maybe played in the Kim McNeil era. I mean, you talk about playing really, really well at both ends of the floor, dominating for 40 minutes of what I think is a very, very good basketball team on both ends of the floor as well. And so if they can go out there, they can duplicate that performance on March 7th, there is a very good chance they are the number 2 seed. With that being said, you got a lot of basketball games between now and March 7th. You've got 6 games, I believe, between now and then. You cannot fault step in one of those games. You can't look ahead to that game against Tulsa. Obviously, you've got a big one against Rice here in the coming weeks as they come into town. And, look, this is a team that can get the 2 seed. This is a team that could win the conference, but they're going to have to continue to play good basketball. And going back to the game you mentioned yesterday, you're right, it's not a true championship caliber win maybe, but it's the kind of win that championship caliber teams have, because great teams don't blow out everybody. I mean, you would have to find very few times in all of sports where you look at a championship team that just walked through the tournament. I mean, you think of like the 85 Bears, who walked through pretty much every game they played that year. That is a slim amount of teams who've done that. Even the 72 Dolphins had a lot of ugly wins in there, and great teams have to win ugly.
ECU will go to Tulane, go to Temple, and then host Florida Atlantic. All those teams are currently below 500 in the league, although as we saw against Wichita State, nothing can be taken for granted. The Rice game scheduled for February 21st. That'll be a big one. We do have a comment from Davy Jones, says it's a shame more people don't go to ECU girls basketball games. At NC State, Reynolds Coliseum is packed for every state girls game. Well, I agree. The attendance could be better. A couple things. Yesterday, 2 o'clock start was brutal. I was planning to go until that was changed. So that was obviously a safety thing. You can't blame them. They also start a lot of these games at 6, which is good and bad. Good if you have young kids you want to take, but if you're like working during the weekday and it's a 6 o'clock start, that is a tough time to make. So, I'm sure they do it for a variety of reasons, but maybe they could push it back to 7. You get a little bit more attendance. But the other thing, too, NC State has made the tournament 8 of 9 years. And historically has made 2 Final Fours. So, they're a really top-notch women's basketball program. And ECU is getting there under Kim McNeil, but they have a history of sustained success. So, kind of 2 different situations here.
It is. Maybe 6:30 is a good time. That's enough time to drive home from work, grab your kids, grab a quick bite, be at the arena. But, 7 is a little late. And, to the point, look, we need more attendance around all of our sports. We've complained about it in football, or at least people not staying. Baseball's pretty well attended, but the people in the purple seats, if you don't show up, you need to sell your tickets to people who can, or do a buyback program. There's a lot of issues when it comes to attendance everywhere. And this is not an East Carolina problem. This is an everybody problem. Yes, we do need more people to show up to women's basketball, and that's why Steven and I are going to keep pushing it. Patrick and I are going to keep pushing it, and we're going to show up when we can. But at the end of the day, it's on you guys too. Get out and tell your friends that, hey, this really is a good, exciting basketball team to watch.
Let's get a break in. We'll come back. We'll hit NBA trade deadline. Before we get out of here, also check in on R.J. Felton in the G League. The Bucks putting out there that Giannis is likely going to be retained through the trade deadline. And so that saga will continue. Also, a couple big moves that we need to get to. The Hornets are buyers. What in the world's going on? This is Hoist the Colors on Thursday.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors, with locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice
Everything
agency.
you need to know in the world of ECU athletics. This is Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Final few minutes of the show here. We're getting some comments on YouTube about we need a show with the new football coaches at ECU so we can get to know them. I'm working on it, guys. I promise once we can interview them, we will. You got to think they've been back. Portal, recruiting on the road. Now they're trying to get their bearings, move their families here. So there's a lot of moving parts. When we can get them, we will get them. I promise. NBA trade deadline closing on 2 hours. We will dive into this more tomorrow with Bobby Harvard, but some of the big moves. Basically, Giannis is going to stay with the Bucks, it sounds like. They just made a trade, but not involving Giannis. Not that significant. Some other notable names on the move. James Harden going to the Cavaliers as the Cavaliers try to make a run. They traded Darius Garland and a second-round pick to the Clippers. You also had Anthony Davis on the move in just a gigantic trade. Really, that was kind of a shocker, but you can somewhat understand it from the standpoint of the Wizards are trying to build for next year. You also have the Charlotte Hornets making the move to bring in Kobe White from the Chicago Bulls, along with Mike Conley. So those are some significant trades. Kristaps Porzingis also back on the move to the Warriors, although he's got some health concerns. Anything catching your eye, Philip, in the trade deadline? Obviously the Giannis news as well, and I'm sure there will be some other moves ahead of the 3 p.m. deadline.
The Wizards, you're tied for last in the league, and you're buying players. You're trading away first-round draft picks. Anthony Davis, Trae Young, hey, cool, great. you still only have 13 wins. That's odd for me. But hey, it's cool to see the Hornets being buyers. You go through, you get Kobe White. I think this is a chance for Melo to play a little more off ball. I think his shot selection is better when he's off ball. Also, you bring in Mike Conley Jr. Yes, he's 38, but hey, you know what? You're hoping to get in the play-in game. That's playoffs. To have that experience. I mean, God only knows how many playoff games Mike Conley's played in, so that's great. The honest thing, I just checked, after this year, only 1 year on his deal, so they can still deal him in the offseason, obviously, but it's going to be a 1 year rental for somebody, so you're probably not going to get a whole heck of a lot. Of course, this year only would have been a 1.5 year rental, but that's still 2 playoff runs. Probably could have got a little more for him, so it would be interesting to see if the team puts out a statement as to why that didn't happen.
Yeah, kind of just tired of hearing it and ready for him to get on the move at this point, but we got to deal with it again. By the way, former Duke guard Luke Kennard on the move to the Lakers as well, as the Lakers try to get some shooters around LeBron. Quick check-in on, again, more deadline tomorrow. We'll talk about it, react to it. R.J. Felton in the G League for the Noblesville Boom, the Pacers G League organization. We haven't really checked in on this year. 22 games. Now, I don't really know what this tip-off tournament is for the G League, but basically it sounds like some sort of regular season. But they do crown a champion. Then it goes into the real regular season. All in all, 22 games, 21 minutes per game, 9.6 points per game, shooting 45% from the floor, 30% from three, and 3 rebounds a game. So it sounds like he's a solid bench player in the G League, Phillip, and he's having some success. Hopefully he can continue to progress into a starter.
Yeah, I hope so. Hey, anytime you get a chance to make money playing the Child's game, that's great. At least it looks like with those numbers he can continue to do it for a few more years. You wish him all the success, but if this is the ceiling, hey, still pretty impressive.
Been a while since the Pirates had a legit player in the G League, so it's a step in the right direction. We'll be back tomorrow at 12 noon. We'll continue on our better, worse, even previews, and also talk more NBA trade deadline and more with Bobby Harvard. We'll see you then Friday.